Hello. Today I'm going to read 4 Years Gone By, Chapter 2, Grade 9 Adventures. Before I started school at Panthers United, I signed up for the sewing and cooking introductory classes. In the sewing class, we were knitting teddy bears on paper to get us started. We learned how to safely handle the sewing machines and to sew without getting hurt in the process. This class became a favorite while I was in school. I loved using my hands and being creative. If I remember correctly, this is the same day we went to tour the school, so that we could see if we would like it there and if it would be a good fit for us. But I also loved sewing, and Mrs. Penelope Cruiser made all of us feel that we belonged and that we could achieve whatever we put our minds to. Keep in mind, I wasn't always a good sewing student, but I loved creating projects in that class, with the help of Mrs. Cruiser and Mrs. Bernice Valley, even if my projects didn't turn out the way I wanted them to. In cooking, we made grilled cheese sandwiches. We also sorted small bite-sized desserts onto trays to give to the staff and students at lunchtime. I learned about the hospitality industry that day, and it was kind of fun. I helped serve grilled cheese, and the principal, Nelson Gates, was in the line. He smiled at me, and at that point his smile felt real. After that day, his smile wasn't real to me anymore. During the school tour, I leaned sideways on the bench outside the office, telling a student named Audrey Salino, "He's cute," just as the principal walked by us. After it was overheard, some of the staff and students took it the wrong way. I meant it in a friendly way. That is not how they portrayed it. The first day of school was September 3rd, 2009. I was a new student, just like the rest of the grade 9s. However, the worst part is I haven't even started grade 9 yet, let alone the school year. Don't know if someone overheard that conversation or if Audrey repeated that to him, but either way I don't care. It was all an act anyway. This is when the problem started with the principal. Rumors read around fast in that school, as I'm sure it does in every school, but I believe the rumor was started by either Darren or Aiden Eagle. Neither one of them, I would have thought, said anything to the principal about calling him cute. Then I realized that it's okay because it doesn't matter anymore. But I also thought that it was Audrey that told him. But I was wrong. I was told they were the ones who spread the rumor, not Audrey. But I guess I'll never really know. And neither one admitted to it, as Dennis Salino told me that Darren and Aiden were the ones who started the rumor. They twisted those words around, making those words out to be what they weren't. And to be fair, a grown man making a big deal about a few words that were meant to be nice was clearly taken the wrong way. Usually people don't make a big fuss about someone saying that a person is cute or whatever. And they don't really bully you about it or make a big scene about it either. Or end up telling the whole school and even telling the world about it. I don't understand a lot of things, but grown adults bullying kids and others, it's pathetic. We should be helping each other and not bullying each other. I let it slide at first because I had absolutely no idea what had transpired for the principal to be so cruel to my siblings and me. But in all fairness, it was only me he had issues with during the years 2009 to 2014. Even though both my siblings, Elizabeth and Louis, continued to attend that school too. But they didn't seem to have the same problems that I had with him, or at least not that I could see anyway. Maybe they did have issues with him, but I never saw it. I had a few favorite teachers, educational assistants, office staff, and vice principals in high school, but some of them didn't know they were my favorite people at the time. And they were Mr. Norman Louis, Mr. Roy Slick, Mr. Anderson, not always, Mrs. Cruiser, Mr. Jeffrey Roberts, Mr. Ronnie Turcicle, not always, Mr. Vincent Rolando, Mrs. Marlena Brewster, Mrs. Winona Allison, Mr. Pablo Geisen, and Mrs. Tiger Lily Iris, even though I barely knew her. The other office staff, who are my favorite folks too, are Vice Principal Martinez Polo and Mrs. Catherine Tyler. The EAs are Mrs. Valley, Miss Tai Pang, Mrs. Scarlett Zaid, Miss Grace, Miss Izine Flower, Miss Piper Joel, Mrs. Tara Black, not always, Miss Desiree Avery, not always, Miss Tavia Roslin, and my piano teacher Kathy. So there were quite a few of the staff I liked, but I never made it fully known that they were my favorite people until my last year of high school. A few of them weren't my favorite people anymore after my grade 12 mistake in failing math class, but that was my fault. So continuing with the story, the new grade 9s, including myself, attended an assembly for the start of the school year. During the assembly, Panthers United welcomed us to the school. We were introduced to the staff to learn their names and to understand what they teach and what their roles are in the school. The teachers have different skills in the classes they teach. Some teachers have more skills than the others did because some of them taught more classes. A few of the educational assistants should have been teachers because they taught us many things that the teachers didn't want to teach us or weren't teaching us at all. Anyway, During the assembly, I was so nervous, and I also remember sitting beside Elizabeth, and we were talking to another new female student too, and we noticed she looked different from us, and she had a hearing aid in her ear. I can't remember if she had hearing aids in both of her ears or not, but we talked to her and introduced ourselves, and she told us her name, Thelma Violet. And she was nice to us, and we thought we had made a new friend, and I believe that we did make a new friend that day, but I think she took a liking to Elizabeth more than me. I believe we asked her why she was wearing hearing aids because I was curious. I don't think I've ever seen a young person with hearing aids before. I think she told us she was born that way, and I felt sad for her. I was learning about all kinds of different people and that we are all unique. I was starting to understand more of everyone's situations that were different from mine, and as I got older. We might all be different in a way, but we all have the same wants, needs, and bleed the same. I just hope that I didn't come off as rude as I remember this memory. Before lunch, during the assembly, all of us grade 9s played a scavenger hunt game. We went to some of the classrooms going to the teachers to fill out questions about the school and the classes. The first teacher I met was Mr. Anderson. We got school supplies like binders, pencils, and lined paper for the year. It was a nice surprise. In September 2009, Elizabeth and I had very short hair. Some students thought we looked like boys. During the scavenger hunt, the boys were acting like their usual selves. I said, "Boys." Adrienne Ardine asked, "You must be a girl." I answered, "Yes, I am." People made fun of us because of it. We had longer hair in the summer, but we ended up with lice because of our elementary schools. Someone from one of the schools brought the lice to school, and we ended up with it too. I don't remember whose school they came from though, yet people still made fun of us because of it. We grew our hair longer during the year, but despite the ones who bullied, I made some great friends. Anyway, later that day after school, I went outside of the building and walked over to see Principal Gates. He welcomed me to Panthers United. He said to me, "My nickname is the Hammer." I asked, "Why do you call yourself that?" He replied, "I don't take any poop in Panthers United." I don't remember much of that conversation, but he seemed nice that day. During my remaining high school years, my favorite lunches were macaroni and cheese, grilled cheese sandwiches, pancakes, salads, pizza, chicken, beef burritos, quiche, hot dogs, and hamburgers. My best friend Della's favorite food was pierogies. And every time the cooking class baked those, I'd give my lunch to Della because I didn't like them at the time. But we never judged each other's taste in food. Music was a different story though. But we did eat whatever food the school served us at breakfast and at lunch. But if I didn't like the way the food looked or smelled, there was no way I was eating it. So sometimes I skipped lunch and breakfast, but most of the time it would be lunch that I would skip. But a good majority of the time the food was delicious, and I never skipped those meals. It didn't matter if it was breakfast or lunch. And that's how the cooking bacon teacher, Mr. Slick, and I met. My brother Louis was always in the cooking room, washing dishes, sweeping the floor, or serving lunch, and the teacher knew I was Louis' sister. Mr. Slick would see me in the hallway or in the cafeteria during lunch, and he would just stand there intimidating me. And he would say, "Did you get lunch? Have you eaten? Why haven't you eaten? Do you want something to eat? Why didn't you get lunch? Did you just come back from co-op and are you hungry? Walk with me and let's go get lunch." But most of the time I would say, "No thanks, I don't want lunch." I would just go to my class after that. And it's not to be rude, it's just that I never wanted to take food just to end up wasting it. Or sometimes my friends would end up eating my lunch instead of me. At least when my friends were around, my lunches would never ever be wasted. But it was lunches like macaroni and tomatoes or spaghetti that I never cared for. I never liked that food in high school. I love spaghetti now though, but I still don't like macaroni and tomatoes. Yuck. But one thing about Mr. Slick is, I don't remember him ever being angry with me or kicking me out of his classrooms. He was one of the cool teachers. Like, you could call him a bad name or swear at him and he'd just walk away. Like, "I don't have time for this," or "I'm not dealing with this or with you and your bad attitude today. You're better than that. Go to class, kiddo." But anyway, the days of annoyance began in September. It started when pasta was thrown at Louis, Elizabeth, and me. We were sitting on the cafeteria floor because all the tables were full. After students slowly stopped throwing their food at us, Louis went to see Principal Gates to explain what was going on at lunchtime. He took it seriously and came to the caf to tell the students to stop throwing food. During September, I sometimes didn't want to eat, but Mr. Slick would make sure I ate. At first, I didn't trust the food because Dana Robertson spat in Elizabeth's food. For that, she's a blobfish. Well, yeah. Who wants to eat food that someone spits in? That's disgusting. After that, Mr. Slick talked to her and made sure she didn't spit in anyone's food ever again. And he made sure it was okay for Elizabeth and me to eat lunch again. From that moment on, the bullying with Dana got worse instead of her leaving us alone. And over time, Mrs. Ava Collins came to see me during one of my classes, telling me other students said I stink because I wasn't wearing deodorant that day and my smell of odor was bothering them. And that's how I found out about the walk-in closet. One day, Mr. Anderson's math class stuck out my middle finger at Jenny Russo because she said something mean to me. I don't remember what it was though, but I guess it wasn't important if I can't remember what she said. Truth be told, I don't really care. The class told me not to stick my finger up at her. They also told me to watch my back because that girl could have beaten me up. And there's another day in math class. Tina Beacon looked at me and asked, "What are you looking at, ugly?" I mean, she wasn't any prettier than me. Many of my bullies weren't very pretty. I know that's why they bullied me. And one of the reasons I think this is because they always came to class wearing makeup. And I was the complete opposite. I never wore makeup at school. Maybe they felt more confident in bullying me because they wore makeup and thought they were prettier than me. But anyway, Mr. Anderson wasn't in the classroom when all that nonsense happened. Jenny and Tina bullied my siblings and me a few times before they left Panthers United. During lunch, sometimes in grade 9, Della would talk about Principal Gates and purposely make my face go red. We both laughed about it, but only because I told her that I liked him and thought he was a cool principal at the beginning of the school year. I didn't even have a crush on him, but everyone thought I did, just because I called him cute. But everybody at the school thought, or they would say, "You have a crush on the principal," and blah, blah, blah. I just brushed it off and said, "Whatever, think what you want, I don't care." Another memory I remember is on my way home from school one day in 2009. Dennis and his friends were walking past the place we were living at the time, and our neighbor's house caught fire. But for some reason, I had seen Dennis and popped out of nowhere scaring him. After that, my family and I had to sit in our van across the street and wait to return home. The fire department who had dealt with that fire told us, "You can't go home until it's safe to return." I think we sat in the van for a couple of hours. I felt so sad for my neighbors, considering they are good people. Fires can happen to anyone at any time, and it's scary just thinking about it. I don't remember the details of the fire or anything more from that day. I just remember the fire and scaring my friend. The next day at Panthers United, an educational assistant named Miss Payne asked me, "Is your family okay?" I responded, "We are fine. It was our neighbor's house that caught fire. They are okay too, but truth be told, I had no idea if they were okay or not." One day, just for fun, I walked into the girls' gym and took a picture of Della and Jacob Willow. Her response was, "Erase that photo." Della sat on me right after we had eaten beef burritos for lunch. She made me vomit, and it was all over the side on the floor. Some made it into the green recycling bin. It was as if I was playing basketball with no intention. Della and my other two friends, Jacob and Alexandra Ryan, had to clean the mess after I went home sick. All four of us laughed while having a great time and hang out in the gym. I remember that lunch hour very well. The moments where your friends clean up your vomit after making you sick. I wonder how they felt that day. I'm unsure of what grade this was, but I'm putting this here anyway. One day I was walking on the opposite side of the school's road, near the Memorial Road Stadium, with Jacob, and I was eating ice cream. And we had just come back from the Barton Street East Donald M. McChuckles. And as we were walking past the school, Miss Danielle Bakerson walks out of the front of the school and says to us, "Why aren't you two in class?" And Jacob said he was going home. So I ended up going into the school with her, and she said I had detention with her after school, and I didn't go to that detention. And instead of going to class after she told me to, I sat underneath the staircase at the back of the school eating my ice cream. And I sat there until the bell rang for break time. But that area where I had ate my ice cream was always my safe space, just in case I'd see any of my bullies walking past me or hear them walking down the stairs. I'd hide underneath the staircase. Or I'd also hide from any of the staff members who were walking in the hallways when I was not in my classes and should have been. And nobody ever looked to see if I was hiding there either, which was good for me, but I didn't always use that space after 2012. Rumor has it that Jacob was shoved into a locker one day between 2009 and 2010, or maybe after that, by the principal. But it could never be proven by anyone because I believe everyone was in class when this happened. Or it could have happened after school. I guess we'll never really know if this is true or not, and I wouldn't put it past the principal either. I was told years later by Jacob that this actually did happen, or someone else told me this. I don't remember who told me that, to be honest, but I believe it's true because any friend of mine the principal didn't seem to like, or at least that's what it looked like from my point of view. I simply was always Panthers United's greatest disappointment. Students and staff didn't see the side of the principal that my siblings, friends, and I saw. He was the student's hero, but he's no hero of mine. I don't praise people who bully their students or do bad things to others. I'm not saying that he's a bad person because I don't know the person he is outside of the school. I only know of the person he was inside the school, and I didn't like the person he was. But the other students and staff seemed to love him, even the community. Also, Jacob had simply disappeared from the school, or at least skipped a lot of his classes, because I rarely saw him at school after 2010, and we all rarely hung out together after that. I often wondered what happened to him after 2009 and 2010 for that to happen. But he was still a student at Panthers United because his picture appeared in all of the yearbooks until 2012. Before he vanished from the school, we would always go to Greenwood Park in our early years of the school together. I had always wondered what happened to him, but I never questioned it because there were quite a few students who came and went during all the years that I was at the school. So I just thought they all chose to go to different schools because our school wasn't the right fit or choice for them. Or maybe they didn't care about their education and didn't go back to school at all. And if I'm being honest, I don't think it was the right choice for me either. But I always told myself if I had have known then what I know now, I would have gone to a different school. But I always believed I didn't have a choice because I remember having to choose between two schools. And the school I would have wanted to go to, if I had have known about it sooner, wasn't on the list of potential schools for me. And unfortunately, I didn't know about that school until a decade later. And every time I went to that school during the Hamilton Conservatory for the Arts winter dance recitals, I always wished I had gone to that school. There was just something magical about that school that I could have never known with Panthers United. And two of my favorite celebrities growing up, who voiced characters in The Cat in the Hat and Curious George, and my favorite dean at Winterberry Adventure College were all students there. I would love to meet them one day. And yes, I have already met the dean at the college. And no, I'm not trying to throw shade at Panthers United. It was a good school for me most of the time, but I could have done better and should have been a better student. Maybe I just needed what Panthers United couldn't provide, true belonging. Being your true self and never having to worry about what good or bad things would happen at school any day of the week. And asking yourself questions like, were the bullies planning on tormenting me today? And what have they planned to make my depression worse today? And no, I don't regret going to Panthers United, but what I do regret is not being a better student and standing up for myself towards the bullies the first time they bullied me. Going to school is supposed to be about learning, not being bullied by both staff and students. Bullying shouldn't even exist in schools, but unfortunately it does, and it's cruel and should be banned permanently. Thankfully, not everyone in the school bullied my siblings and I, but quite a few of them did, and it was unfortunate it had to be that way. I had a choice between my homeschool Dorkview and Panthers United, but I don't even know if Panthers United was on that list. But I didn't even ask what other schools were on that list that I could have chosen from, and I wish I had have been braver and had asked for options and guidance to choose the best school for me to attend, and not just immediately choose the school my siblings were at or were going to be attending, because I felt safer with them than without them. But if I had have went to a different school, this novel wouldn't have been written, and me accidentally rewriting my destiny wouldn't have happened either. I don't think I would have be a writer today, but I wholeheartedly believe that if I hadn't made that mistake in my last year of high school, I wouldn't be volunteering in the artistic theater and musical community and have met so many people along the way without having made that mistake. I probably wouldn't have met many of the people I know today. Sometimes rewriting your destiny isn't always a bad thing, even if someone else had a hand in rewriting it too. Maybe they saw something you didn't and tried to push you in the right direction the whole time, but you were too angry to see it then. But now that you're not angry anymore, you see why they were trying to push you to do better, to do your very best, and pushed you in the direction you were meant to go in the first place. Now you're truly proud of it and thankful to have been given the chance to move forward to a better tomorrow. I was given a second chance to be a better person, and thanks to the rejection of both the teacher and the principal, I was forced to move on, to make a choice to either dwell in the past or look forward to a better and brighter future. I was accepted right away into another community, which I am still a part of today. I didn't just find true acceptance and a new meaning in life, but I also found and made new, amazing, and kind friends. And I have met quite a few real and true one-of-a-kind heroes along the way in a community I never thought was possible for me to be a part of. And I'm forever grateful to have been given the chance to be a better person for not only me and my family, but also for my community as well. I'm unsure of what grade this was, but I remember Vice Principal Polo came to visit the sewing class one day in 2009, and he sat at one of the students' desks with us. I'm not sure why he was there, but he stayed for a while, and as we were working on our teddy bear sewing projects during class. I'm unsure of what grade this was, but one day Miss Kyra Jane had prom tickets for students who wanted to go, but couldn't afford it. I was one of those students, and I wanted to ask her about getting a ticket. But she was so rude to me for no reason, ignoring me while walking away and making me cry. I was so angry with her at that moment. Or maybe she just had too many students asking her for help to purchase prom tickets already. But either way, she didn't have to treat me like that. But somehow, I managed to keep my cool and just walked off instead of doing or saying anything I would regret later. But I don't remember why she was being rude to me. She didn't have to do that to me either. And Mr. Anderson got me a ticket to go to the event after he seen me cry. I don't even remember saying thank you to him for doing that for me. I'm surprised I even remember this. It all started during my very first prom in high school. Elizabeth and I went to Principal Gates' office to get bus tickets that he had promised her. And Mr. Sour Mike was in the office at that time. And we went into the office so Elizabeth could get the bus tickets. But things took a different turn. He didn't give her the bus tickets. And she was upset, and I didn't blame her at all. I stood up and told him he shouldn't be making promises to his students and then just breaking them, especially for no reason at all. I also mentioned my older brother. And this is the day when he started treating us very poorly, all because I stood up for my siblings. I made him mad that day, and I remember Mr. Mike had walked us out of the office. It's like they didn't think we knew the way out of his office, and he wasn't very nice to us either. People often wondered why I couldn't get along with the principal and why I disliked him so much. The one day, I would find out that Walbert was one of Principal Gates' students many years ago when he was the vice principal at another high school would be the day of my first high school prom. My brother apparently caused a lot of trouble for him, and of course, whatever happened between those two ended up smacking me right in the face. I didn't understand at first why I was Principal Gates' new target. Was it because he saw me as a weakling? Or was it because I was new and didn't know anyone? Except my siblings, obviously, and two Wildcats East students named Celine and Dennis. Or was it simply because I'm more like Walbert than my other siblings? Or is it because I'm the sister of a troublemaker and outsider? And he considered me one too, way before I even became one. Well, one thing for sure is I am proud of all my siblings, including Walbert, and how far they have come. I'm glad that they are a part of my family, and I wouldn't trade them for the world. Even though I would like to beat them up sometimes, which I'm sure most siblings feel that way about their siblings sometimes too, right? Principal Gates was judgmental to me, but he would not show this to anyone else, but to my siblings and me. He held a grudge against Walbert and thought that it was okay to hold that against us. And no one bothered to even notice it. We didn't belong at that school, and we could feel that we didn't belong there. We did nothing wrong, but someone in our family gave him a really hard time in another high school he used to work at, and I guess that was enough for the principal to be mean and bully us. And then Principal Gates came to Panthers United, and he hated the rest of my family for no reason at all, except for the fact that a family member of ours couldn't get along with him. What kind of lame excuse is that? He even made a big deal about me liking him back in my first year of high school. He thought the like wasn't even school related. Why would I waste my time crushing on someone who pretends to care? You have a big ego and you're not cute at all. And every time we were bullied by anyone, including the teachers, he would do absolutely nothing to help us. He didn't care, and you could see that he didn't care about us. When reading this novel, you will see more reasons why the principal was the way he was to my siblings and me. He was the main problem for us in this school. He was one of the reasons why we never had any peace. And every time I wrote letters to him and to the staff, he would never write back. Or if he said anything, his words would always be the same. I saw the nicely written letter you wrote. What kind of response is that? You saw the letter. Does that mean you didn't or did read it? One time, Mr. Anderson mentioned the very first letter I wrote to the staff when I was walking down the third floor staircase and said something about division. He asked me what the answer was to a math-related question, but I didn't know the answer at that time. One day in gym class, there was a supply teacher who filled in for Mrs. Collins, and we were playing dodgeball. Elizabeth was throwing the dodgeballs at us very roughly. We didn't like that, and that's when we all started complaining and arguing with one another. But Vice Principal Polo wanted to send me home, but I ran into the change room. Elizabeth came in and said, Vice Principal Polo said you don't have to go home, you can stay. Then we both left the change room. Elizabeth was talking to him about our class. A few minutes later, I started throwing dodgeballs at her. They kept missing her and almost hit him. He was looking down at his cell phone at the time. He looked up at me a few times as well. The next day, the class got an earful from Mrs. Collins because she heard the news. That day, the whole class got in trouble, especially Elizabeth and me. It's like we were always to blame. We got into trouble a lot, even if we didn't do anything wrong. I didn't like Jim at all, either, especially since most of my bullies were in that class too. I didn't like the teacher because she was intimidating in school and would blame Elizabeth and I for whatever trouble was caused in the gym, even if we weren't the ones who caused it. Like, if Elizabeth did something wrong, the students and Elizabeth would blame me, and I would get into trouble for it, or at least that's how I viewed it. But sometimes the teacher was scary, and I wanted no part of any of her classes, especially gym. Co-op was different. I didn't even have to be at the school. I just had to be at my placement. I eventually had gotten used to her and started to understand why she was so hard on me. She cares about her students and wants to see us succeed and be healthy. I believe that is something every teacher wants for their students, even the troubled ones. They want to see all of us do our best and to succeed in anything that we choose to do. But regardless of that, I still hated gym. I didn't even like the fitness room either, but it got us out of the gym. I believe gym was a mandatory course. I think I took gym once and that was it. Every time gym was on my school schedule, I'd be like, gym isn't happening for me again. Sign up for a different course right now. And Mrs. Collins would always say, why aren't you in my gym class? Also, my personal favorite, why haven't you been coming to my class? Because I signed up for another class, that's why. One day during fourth period class sewing, I stole Della's MJ book. As I stood by the front doors of the school, Principal Gates walked over to me and asked what I was reading. I only showed him the book, Moonwalk. He had no idea I had a stolen book in my hands. There was no cover as I had already taken it off. I don't remember what I did with it though. I kept the book for a week, but after a while, the book started getting mentioned again, and I had already read it. Therefore, I decided to play innocent and return the book. But I did it in a sneaky way by putting it into a locker on the second floor during sewing class. Della and Jacob went looking for it, and after looking through some of the lockers, they found it. No one had any idea or clue that it was me who'd taken it. Where the cover is now is still a mystery to this day. I own a copy of that same book today. Mrs. Valley and I didn't see eye to eye when we first met. A couple of months went by and we still hadn't spoken or smiled at one another. Then one day we started talking in sewing class. After speaking to one another for a while, she became one of my favorite educational assistants. I would talk to her about some of my problems and she would always listen. Even if she were busy, she always made time for me because she cares for the right students. She would give advice to staff and students when they needed it the most. Sometimes her worst enemies would ask her for advice. Mrs. Valley understands who I am and what I was going through, because she went through the same phase. She is very straightforward. If you made a mistake, she would try to help you with it. Try to fix it. Or if it couldn't be fixed, she would reassure you that everything would work out. And whatever it is that you were having trouble with, she would always be there to guide and help you no matter what the problem was. Sometimes I'd call myself names and she would get mad at me. Sometimes she wouldn't speak to me and give me silent treatment if I called myself certain bad names that she didn't like or approve of. Mrs. Valley was in charge of the walk-in closet in the glamour room. She had given me most of my Panthers United t-shirts that I currently own to this day. Plus, that's where I got some of my jeans that I never wore in 2009 from. She gave me girly t-shirts too. Back then I would wear mostly negative colors, because I was never much of a girly girl back then. I would always ask Miss Valley, "Do you have any more Panthers United t-shirts left?" I was proud to be a Panthers United student, and sometimes I wasn't. I'm pretty sure every student has those days, right? I know I had those days a lot. Another day in gym class, I ran away from the community baseball park, running back to school because it was close to the park. I didn't want to play soccer baseball, and I said, "This is bull poop." Therefore, Mrs. Collins yelled at me, and that's when I ran to the school. I couldn't face her, and to this day, I still can't face her. Running away was a mistake, and it should have never happened. When I entered the school, the civics teacher, Mrs. Tracy Berta, talked to me and asked me what happened for me to run away. Mrs. Collins called the school's office because I scared her. I should have known better because she was afraid and protective. She didn't and doesn't want to see any of her students end up dead, hurt, or taken away just because I ran away in anger. Mrs. Collins would have been responsible if anything were to happen to me or any of the other students in her care. After I talked to Mrs. Berta, I walked to my family's home in downtown Hamilton. And at this time, we weren't given bus tickets. When I got home, Grandma and Mom were in the house talking. Grandma said, "You shouldn't have run away. You could have gotten her taken away." I said, "I'm sorry, I won't do it again." The next day, Mrs. Collins said, "Never run away from Panthers United or the community base park ever again." But I don't believe I ever apologized to my gym teacher for doing that to her, and after that, I never ran away from the park again. But I never, ever ran away from the school. One day in grade 9 or 10, we were in the gym during an assembly. Della and I cried during the Mad Canada multimedia presentation video that we were watching, and she cried more than I did. Like, you could see the tears streaming down her face, and Vice Principal Polo was there too. I think he was trying to comfort her. Now that I look back at this, maybe I missed something. Maybe she was empathetic too, or has some kind of trauma from her past watching that Mad video. But either way, I really wanted to hug her, and I wish I had have. But I was unsure of what to do. I hate seeing stuff like that happen. It not only scares me, but it also upsets me. And no one should lose their life to any kind of careless driver because of it, or live differently than they originally were living before that carelessness happened. Another time, I saw Mr. Anderson in the stadium volunteering for a Hamilton Tiger Cats game, I think. So I walked over to him, promising I might stay in school every day. But I was unable to keep that promise. This was in grade 9 or 10. One day in grade 9 or 10, after some of the students who were at the pool in the Clarence Willingham building had just come back from the pool, had been called into the gym because somebody had stolen the keys from the building. And of course, right away, racism was involved. Because Carter Blake got blamed for stealing the keys, and he told Principal Gates that he didn't steal them. And apparently someone had said somebody else threw the keys into a bush outside of the Clarence Willingham building. But I do believe the keys were eventually found, but I'm not sure who took them and why. I do believe that Carter didn't take the keys in the first place. But I also heard someone was dared to steal the keys, and that person did, and decided to blame Carter for it. And the person didn't take the blame for stealing the keys in the first place, and thought it was okay to blame someone else for their actions and not suffer the consequences and so on. Sorry about that. But if I remember correctly, there were other schools at the Clarence Willingham building that day too. And I don't remember being able to go swimming in the pool with the other students either. Either I wasn't allowed because I couldn't swim, or I didn't have my swimsuit, or there was a group game, maybe water polo going on there, and maybe we were watching the game instead of swimming. But I do think that our school was one of the schools participating in the water polo game, but not me. During an assembly, this could have been the same day where the keys were stolen. I remember Principal Gates had raised his voice, screaming in Jenny's face as he was standing right in front of her, and she was sitting in one of the chairs in the first row that we were all sitting on. And he told Jenny to get out of the gym because she said something smart or something he didn't seem to like. The whole room was staring at her at this point, and she was giving him attitude, and she eventually did leave after that. I said to myself inside my head, I hope he never yells at me in front of the entire school, embarrassing me like that. Better her than me though, right? I'm so glad he never did that to me. In 2009 or 2010, I remember Vice Principal Polo had caught Elizabeth, myself, and I think one or two other students skipping class after lunch. And I said something smart to him like, "What if we don't go to class?" And he responded by saying, "If you don't go to class, I will suspend you." And sure enough, I believed him, and I went straight to class. But I could have avoided this conversation if I had went into the school by the teacher's parking lot when Jada Flama offered to let me in, but she wouldn't let my sister in though. 2009 or 2010, I walked downstairs to leave school after we had eaten breakfast. Principal Gates and a female teacher had been standing by the front doors of the school. I didn't hesitate and just walked out of the building while they were standing there. So when I went outside, he sent the teacher after me to see where I was going and why I left the school. I told her I was being bullied or that I felt sick, and she told me to come back into the school, but I don't remember what happened after that. I think I did eventually go back to class, but I don't remember what class I had that day. Also, another time in 2009 or 2010, I was in gym class, sitting on the floor by the bench near the entrance to the gym. While a few students and I were talking, we mentioned bullying at some point in the conversation that we were having. Students had been bullying us that day in the gym, and I think that's why we were talking about it. And I saw the principal come into the gym and just stand there, glaring at us as I said something about bullying. He did not say anything, and I believe Mrs. Collins was not there that day. Expressing how I truly felt that day proved that even if I spoke up, he wouldn't help my siblings, my friends, or me with anything. In 2010, around Easter, I dated Dumbo Hummings. Della didn't want me to date him because she knew he was going to hurt me. She didn't like the fact that I wouldn't listen. Therefore, Della and I went our separate ways for a while. During the relationship, the other students and our friends were trying to break us up. They also made fun of me because I was different than they were. I guess I didn't fit into their group, but Dumbo didn't listen to them and neither did I. One day, Dumbo and I went into a restaurant called Donald Lamb McChuckles that is located on Barton Street East. I was looking around, and as we were waiting for our food, I saw a man who looked like the school principal. I asked Dumbo, "Is that Principal Gates?" Then he looked over at me as my heart was racing faster than it was before I entered the restaurant. He was sitting with someone. I don't really remember who it was though, but Principal Gates was sitting with his back towards the window. But not long after Dumbo and I got our food, we left. There was no way I was eating there. I knew he was watching us walking down the street because I looked back towards the window he was sitting near a few times, and he was staring right into your soul. I believe he did care at that time. I just never saw it in the school. Or maybe he never showed that he cared in front of the other students. Maybe because of fear of being called soft when he was more like, "I'm too tough to be soft" kind of thing, or he could have just been acting, or just because he had the principal title that he could do whatever he wanted. Even treating students badly, like they don't belong or deserve anything. Holding grudges on your student siblings is kind of childish and truly dumb. Like, who does that? Insecure people, that's who. Did my brother cause that much damage that you had to bring that negative nonsense to Panthers United and take it out on us? But either way, that's how I viewed the principal back in 2009. Like, he's out to get us for the trouble my older brother caused. But maybe he deserved the trouble my brother was causing. But then I realized I was kidding myself when I thought he cared. Like, did he secretly care? Or was he all pretend, just for show? Like, I'm going to show you up in front of everybody. They'll think you just made all that negative nonsense towards me. The next day at school, Dumbo and I were chasing each other down the stairs. We ran past Principal Gates and another man on the second floor stairwell. I smiled and said hello to the two of them, and continued chasing Dumbo to the first floor. A couple of months went by, and Dumbo broke up with me for Lynette Dorkster. Later that day, she came up to me during lunchtime while I was at the water fountain. She said, "Dumbo was breaking up with you for me." When she told me that, Dumbo was standing by the boys' bathroom and said absolutely nothing to me. I tried not to cry over it, but the way it ended bothered me. The relationship with Dumbo and I lasted for about 4 months. After that, Della and I became best friends again. Della thought I was dumb when he and I were together. I said to Della, I should have listened. She said, "I told you so." That same day, Dumbo and I stayed friends. I left school after lunch that same day. I went outside the building and walked over to see Vice Principal Polo. He looked at me and asked, "Are you mad at me?" I asked, "No, why would I be mad at you?" He said, "Other students are mad at me." I don't know why he asked me that, but I wasn't mad at him. I talked to him for a few more minutes and told him about what happened with Dumbo and Lynette. I walked home after that and repeated what I said to Mom and Dad. Later that day, Dad's friend Ken walked over to me and said, "I'm the reason why Dumbo broke up with you." Oh, well, thanks for that. A blessing in disguise, I guess. I wasn't surprised about that, though. In a way, it was a relief to have one of my dad's friends end a relationship that wasn't good for me. So thank you. And that's the end of chapter 2. I'm so sorry about all the mispronounced words and the gibberish, talking funny. This story still kind of bothers me in a way, and sometimes I'll mispronounce my words when I'm upset or angry. Like, I'm not upset, but kind of like rereading these memories kind of sometimes still makes me angry. That, some things could have been different, and the principal could have been better. I'm just saying. And maybe I could have been a better student. I wish I had been a better student, but I wasn't, unfortunately. I mean, my first couple of years, I was a good student, I think. I mean, I didn't go to school, like, every day. I didn't have perfect attendance or, the perfect attitude, but I don't know. I guess I just got tired of being bullied and stuff like that and decided to do something about it. But anyway, thank you for sticking to the end of the video to hear me rant mostly about principal in chapter 2. I promise I'll try to do better for chapter 3 all the way to chapter 23 and maybe slow down and not be so loud. You know what I mean? If you like this chapter, please like, subscribe, comment down below, and let me know your thoughts. Yeah, and I hope you have a great weekend, or rest of your weekend. Yeah. Thank you for watching. Bye.